Hello everybody, and welcome to Greg's Vintage Workshop, where work and restore history one piece at a time. Tonight we're going to be having part 3, which is the final portion of the PACO Precision Apparatus Company E400 sweep signal generator. In part 3 we're going to get it finished up. I'm going to hook it up to a scope and we'll take a look at what it does. Now, I might be the first one to tell you that I don't know how to run a sweep generator, especially one old like this, so I can't tell you if it's operating correctly or not, but you guys can look and make your own opinion when I hook it up to the scope. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so here she is all finished, the Precision Apparatus Company E400 sweep generator. Now I'm not an expert on a sweep generator by any means, and I certainly don't do television or FM, so I'm not like I said, an expert on this particular device. I did go online and buy a original manual for it. It shows its age, but it's in pretty good shape. So as you can see, this is what it looks like now that it's all cleaned up and completed. I've got the top on there. I've got the feet front and back on there. Turned out really nice. Got the new power cord on there. Right now I've got it turned on so it's warming up. I've got the B&C connectors along with the B&C connector covers on everything. So that's all nice. And once it gets warmed up here, I'm going to feed a signal into it, probably 20 megahertz from my digital signal generator. And I'm going to get a second camera and get a picture-in-picture shot of my oscilloscope so you can see what it looks like. So let me get that set up and I'll bring you right back. So one of the things I told you guys earlier in the video was that I have a original manual operating instructions for this E400 sweep generator. This isn't it. This is one that I printed online, but because my original is pretty discolored. It's in okay shape. I mean, it's fully legible, but it's obviously from 1915. It's old, and so it's actually in a plastic cover, so I don't want to use it. So I went ahead and printed this one out, which is pretty much identical to it. I didn't see any differences in it. Anyway, I'm going to show you what I did. I think I told you guys that I had ordered a 2 megahertz oscillator, and this is it. And what I've done is I've bent the leads and soldered a couple of little swivel banana jacks. I think these are 3mm, similar to these bigger ones here in this package, but these smaller ones were part of a couple of test leads I had. So I pulled them off of that and I soldered them onto this. Well, then I went to my 3D printer and I printed me a little block to insert it into, and then a bigger block that will allow me to put pressure on the pins so they don't push out that way, as well as capture it all inside there. So that's what I'm planning on doing. So I don't know if the 2 megahertz oscillator that I have purchased here will operate the same as the crystal, 2 megahertz crystal that the instructions say to use for calibration, but that's the closest I could come up with something for it. And whether or not it'll work, I don't know. I don't know if it will or not. But this is kind of what I designed for it. And then this will plug into the front where it would be. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little hot glue and stick in there and stick this together. And we'll have that. Now whether or not it'll work for calibrating this, I have no idea. I know I don't have the ability to calibrate this probably one way or another, but at some point, if I get rid of this, this would be hopefully available, and it may work, it may not work. I don't know. We'll probably plug it in and see if we can make it do anything, but I'm going to go ahead and glue this together and we'll come back. So here it is. I label it 2 megahertz. Let's go ahead and plug it in and see if it looks like it plugs in. So the 2 megahertz hole's going to be these two right here. And yeah, plugs in nice and snugly. It ain't falling out, so I should be making good contact. So my next element is I converted all 3 jacks to B and C connectors. If you guys are seeing that, let me make sure you're low enough. Yeah. So I converted all 3 of these to B and C connectors. In the manual, on page 27, it talks about the calibration using the 2 megahertz crystal. It talks about the crystal diode probe, and it shows a schematic for the crystal diode probe, and I do not think that the one that came with it is a diode probe. This is it here. It had the original connector on it, which obviously I removed the connector and put the B and C in there. This one screwed onto it. Like that. But when you look at the rest of the cable, it just looks like regular coax cable with 2 alligator clips. So I don't think that this is the original cable. I think this is a cable that somebody made for this many years ago. As you can see, it's all rotten. So my dilemma is, do I go ahead and make this cable using B and C connector and some R316 cable, as shown here, which is basically, this is probe tip. We got a 100K resistor, we got 200K resistor here between the scope and the ground. We got a IN34 diode, and we got a 0.0025 cap. So obviously I could put together an R316 cable with B and C connectors on both ends, with the diode and the capacitor and the resistors in there, in order to be able to attempt to run through calibration procedure. Now, I guess because I'm not familiar with sweep generators, and specifically the operation of this one, I'm not sure if I'm barking up the wrong tree, if I even have any chance at all of getting a successful calibration. I need somebody who's more intelligent with this stuff than I am to let me know what you think. Should I go ahead and make a new probe connector that would go between this and my oscilloscope using the R316? Will this 2 megahertz crystal that I bought even do what it's supposed to do in this generator, or was the crystal that they were talking about that came with these, they had them in a 2, a 10.7 I think, and 32 or something, I can't remember what the other ones were. The only one I was concerned about was this one, in case somebody could calibrate it. Should I get rid of it? So anyway, I'm going to rely, once I post this, on what you guys tell me you think I should do with it. If you want to see if I can do any type of calibration with it, I don't think that I have the ability to do it. There's a procedure in here that talks about it. It kind of gives you the setup. They're using an E200C, which was the companion to this E400, which is nothing more than a good signal generator. I'd just be using my normal signal generator to inject the signal in there into the E400. So I don't know. Maybe I'm taking this a little too far since I'm not that familiar with it. All I know is I've restored it as best as I can, and it appears to be, there'd be no reason for it not to work, at least that I can see at this point. But I don't know. I'll leave it to you guys to tell me what you think. But you can see what I've got at this point, and we'll go from there. But for now, I want to thank you for watching Greg's Vintage Workshop, where I'm trying to restore history one piece at a time, and I've got this PACO sweep generator restored to the best of my ability, cosmetically as well as electrically, and whether or not it actually works with its intended purpose, I don't know, because like I said, it's made for FM and television, and obviously I don't restore FM or television. So at this point, I've just done a good job, I think, of making it look good and possibly work. But that's my purpose, is restoring history and antiques one piece at a time. And I think I've done that with this. But so I've got the signal generator generating a 10 megahertz signal. I've got it going into the sweep generator, and then the sweep generator is connected to my scope up there. So what you're looking at is the 10 megahertz signal, which for my scope is 9.99999 megahertz. But I've got the sweep generator. After looking at the operating instructions, I set it up for turning on this crystal oscillator, which is on the band selector. It's XTAL only. We're there. I got the EV off there. I've got the RF frequency maxed, and the output control maxed. And so when we flip on the crystal marker switch, we should get some oscillation from that 2 megahertz crystal, which it's oscillating, as you can see on my scope. Turn it off, oscillation stops. Turn it on, oscillation starts. So I have to say that my little concoction of a 2 megahertz oscillator may be working the way it's intended on this actual sweep generator. I don't know that, because I'm not familiar enough with this equipment to say that it's working as designed. So I'm going to say that I think it is, but for those of you much smarter and more intelligent than I am, you'll either know it's either working or it's not working, or the likelihood of it producing on an FM alignment or a TV alignment the way that it should. You'll know that. I don't know that. I have no way of checking it. So I'm going to call this project a success, in my opinion, and I guess I'll leave it with that. So right now I've been playing around with this a little bit. Like I said, I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing with it, but I have it on band A and I have it on the 0 to 10 megacycle. I'm feeding 10 megahertz or megacycles into it, and as you can see, it appears to be sweeping. Depending upon my sweep width, I can adjust the sweep width and make quite a bit of difference in what we're seeing, depending upon how far I turn it. This one seems to make the most logical sense, and we keep going with it, and it tightens it up. And as it's tightening it up, I can feel a major hum, which you probably can't hear because I can hear my central air running in the background. But we can, the more I adjust this, the louder the hum gets. So yeah, I think that I really think this is actually working. So I just wanted to show you guys that. That's the phase control I'm messing with right there. Anyhow, this is the RF right now I'm messing with. Depending upon how far I'm turning it, depends on how, as you can see, so anyway, I thought I'd show you guys that. So now I've quit feeding any signal into the sweep generator at all from my external signal generator, and right now I've got the sweep width at set on 400, and we're still on 0 to 10 megahertz, and you can see it appears to be generating a sweep. Now if I rotate my actual dial here, we can obviously modify that, as you can see. Like I said, so this is all contained within this particular sweep generator. So anyhow, I just show this to you guys. Again, I'm not familiar with this stuff. I'm still learning this stuff myself. So my intention is just to restore this to the best of my ability, and I think it's working. But how accurate, it probably needs to be calibrated for sure. In fact, I can guarantee it needs to be calibrated. But all in all, I think it's successful. I think that this is I think that it is doing what it's supposed to do, from what I can tell. Anyway, thanks for watching this thing, and I'm sorry that I'm wishy-washy, but when I'm dealing with something I'm not that familiar with, then, you know, I have to assume that it appears to be operational. Thanks for watching.